Hello. This next module is on growth, and in particular, the solo model. Now, what we're going to do is we're going to go over what the issues are right now on the subject of growth. And then we'll go over Malthus's growth model in the late 1700s that he came up with. And then we'll go over to the solo model, which was developed by Robert Solow in the 1950s. And to be able to understand growth and the rest of the models, you need to understand this growth model. So we'll go over this pretty thoroughly, and then we'll see if we can explain why some countries are richer than others, or have a higher income per capita than others using the solo model. And then try to answer some questions about convergence. Are countries going to be able to converge in the future to where they have all the same level of income? And then we'll go through some examples of changes in some of the exogenous variables in the solo model and see how it changes the endogenous variables. Now, first, before we do that, I want to go back to a graph I think I showed early on. Here's a graph of GDP in the United States. The blue line is GDP, and it's a logarithmic scale. The red lines just show a growth rate of 3% with a band, like they're very narrow band of a 3% plus or minus around that. And you can see that the growth rate in the US grows at about 3% a year, regardless of what happens. And it really is in a pretty narrow range. So we have these little ups and downs in the business cycle. And we can try to use fiscal policy and monetary policy to fix those up and downs. But what's really important in economics, even more important than correcting the business cycle, is to try to increase the growth in the country, to try to put us on a trajectory where we have a growth rate that's a little bit higher. You know, a 4 or 5% growth rate makes a huge amount of difference over time. That's where the benefits are. Plus, the other big benefit in the area of growth is that we understand why countries grow. Not only can we make the richer countries richer, we can grow faster, but we can bring the poor countries out of poverty and figure out why they're not growing and how we can make them grow faster. So once you start thinking about growth, it's like it makes everything else in economics not so important. If you can bring billions and billions of people out of poverty by making the country grow faster, what could be better than that? As you can see, so we've got two parts of economics: growth, which is just trying to get poor countries to grow faster and the richer countries to grow at a faster rate. And then we've got the rest of economics, macroeconomics, which focuses on these little tiny blips here of the business cycle and trying to straighten them out. I mean, what's more important really in macroeconomics? It's growth. And when you start looking at it that way, it's like, wow, everything else in macroeconomics doesn't seem like such a big deal. So this is the module on the solo model of growth. And then in the next module, we'll extend that to Romer's model, who also got the Nobel Prize in economics, with his model of growth.